Hello, listeners. Thank you for joining me on 21st Century Native Leaders. My name is Peter Desert III, and I am here with Mr. Craig Young. Craig is an elementary school teacher in the Tuba City area, in particular the boarding school. He has a master's degree from Northern Arizona University and a bachelor's degree from Gwinnett College. So he is a doctoral student in Fielding Graduate University. Uh, I'm assuming you're doing school leadership. Is that correct?
That's correct.
That's awesome. He's also a veteran of the United States Marine Corps, and what caught my attention is his advocacy for STEM education and incorporating robotics curriculum into the teaching of his students. And one reason that's important is because I used to be a math teacher as well. So currently he's the regional coordinator of the Alliance of Indigenous Math Circles in the Western region, serving both the Navajo Nation and Hopi tribes. So welcome to the podcast, the video interview as well. Welcome, Craig.
All right. Thank you for having me today.
Absolutely. So talk to me a little bit about your tribal affiliation, clans, where you come from.
I hail from the Diné Nation, Navajo Nation. So my clans are Hanagatni Nishli, Kintachini, Bashichin, She Dashle Donatsko, Diné, Kachini, Dashanella, Tsecheji de Nasha. So originally I'm from Rough Rock, Arizona. So I come from a line. This is my dog. His name's Batman. He's part of me. I apologize. So my Che, his name is Carl C. Harvey. He was a delegate, council delegate from Rock Point, Arizona, for a number of years, and so that's kind of the leadership that's coming from my family there on that side. And thank you guys for having me here today, and I appreciate the time that is allotted to me, and hello to your listeners.
Absolutely. So I noticed we share two of the same clans. My dads are also Kitlachini, and I think I'm your grandpa as well, because I'm Tachini. So two clans in common. But more importantly, I actually have relatives that are from. You say Rock Point or Rough Rock?
Rough Rock. But my grandpa was a delegate in Rock Point.
Okay. So very similar. I have relatives in those areas out in Arizona. So I bet somehow we're related if we have those clans that closely connected. So that's awesome. Actually, my Nohusky was a council delegate from Round Rock in Round Rock, Arizona, and then my dad was a council delegate from Wakachukai, Arizona. So back in the 70s, late 70s. Yeah. So. But it's good to hear that, and I think that's one thing that's important: the level of education that you've attained. And my family was very firm believers of education. Getting degrees and coming back and helping our people. So that's definitely something we have in common. So let me get to my question. So talk to me a little about the highlights of your career. I know I read your bio and talked about some of the highlights, but like what led you to getting an advanced degree in education or in leadership?
Oh man, well, yeah, it starts all the way back from grade school. Mathematics was my least favorite subject. I had teachers who were awesome at teaching language arts, and kind of struggled in mathematics. I really didn't get the best opportunity there. So I grew up struggling in math, and I see that with a lot of our students, that they have this thing where it's planted in their head from older siblings, probably from aunts and uncles, that math is hard, and so they're coming in with this notion that I can't do it. So that's how I grew up too. So I struggled in mathematics a lot, and graduating from high school from Monument Valley High School in Kayenta, I didn't know what I wanted to do. So I started off as a laborer, a construction company down in Phoenix for a summer or two. And Later, I got into this vocational school in Chicago, Illinois. So I became an iron worker. I stayed there for a bit with Local Union 1, came back here to Arizona with Local 75, and had a really awesome time doing that. Primarily, my job there was a connector, so I got to climb the skeletal structure of skyscrapers and buildings, and it's a very dangerous job, very physically demanding. Again, a lot of mathematics on that side of them. Quick. Later in life, the older guys, they're telling me to go back and get your education. A lot of the rod busters, they are losing cartilage in their fingers, and saying like, "Man, this is a very physically demanding job. Go back. You're young, get your education." But I did not listen. Instead, I ended up in the Marine Corps. Did that for years, and when I used my GI Bill to go to school, so the school that I went to was the Net College, and I saw that as a very unique opportunity for me because this was the only college, pretty much in the whole world, that at the time blended Navajo culture with their core curriculum. I know Navajo Tech does that too as well. So both really awesome schools. And for me, I didn't think I was going to be a teacher at all. So I like to say that teaching found me. So I had a lot of mentors there. One particular person who inspired me was Henry Fowler. So there I started finding my passion for mathematics, and going back thinking about my life in the military. There's a lot of mathematics involved. You do have to be very smart, of course, fit, and they need smart people. I know there's that joke that Marines are not that smart and we eat crayons and stuff, but it's fun just kind of picking at each other between the branches, that camaraderie. So I fell into the Net Teacher Education Program, and again we had a lot of inspiring instructors there, and they planted that seed. So I went out, did my student teaching with a lot of great mentors. One of them was Josetta Yazzie from Keyenta Middle School. There was a point where I was questioning, like, man, do I want to be a teacher? I thought about doing a career move and changing my major, but she helped me out quite a bit. So I do thank her a lot. So Josetta, I just want to say thank you. So I graduated from Diné College. I'm a product of Diné College, and I got my bachelor's degree from there. Later, attended Northern Arizona University, working at the same time, supporting my family. Got my master's degree, and now I'm working my doctorate degree. So for me, I see the importance of STEM education, also mathematics, in everything, no matter what students want to do, whether they want to go straight into college after high school, if they want to go get a vocational training and education, or even the military. There's mathematics, and we can't get away from it. And so mathematics also stops us a lot of the times because it stops a lot of students from attaining their degrees, following their passions and dreams, because we're coming from high school with, I guess, a sense of mathematical illiteracy. We're taking remedial education. We're taking remedial math, wasting and burning up time and money, scholarship money, trying to earn our degree just to finally take the bare minimum required math course. And so I see that as an epidemic, and that's something that I found that I could contribute and give back to my people, and be there to inspire them, and kind of get them going. And because these are our future leaders, our future politicians, our future doctors, future lawyers, future engineers, future scientists, and for me, it's an honor to be there for that period of time to inspire.
Wow, what an amazing journey you've encountered, and leading up to where you're at right now. So I know you mentioned the Marine Corps earlier. What skills, what valuable training did you gain from the Marine Corps? Talk to me a little bit about that.
A lot of it is dealing with leadership capabilities, leadership traits, really helping out as far as like public speaking skills and time management, learning how to be a self-motivated person, taking the initiative, making the best judgment. So that's something that I found was very helpful to push me forward as well. But I find that a lot of times when we get out, that there's also struggle there, depending on the experiences that we had. Everybody has different experiences. But for me, I saw this as an opportunity to. I have younger niece and nephews that I wanted to set a good example for. I've I didn't make the best choices in my early 20s and 30s, especially financially. So it goes back to like financial literacy here too. So my 20-year-old self, I was just kind of burning through credit cards and missing out my credit score, and then late 20s, finally repairing everything. So I also think that's a very important thing to teach. We don't teach that in curriculum here, and I think that yeah, it's a lot of people say that I'm not going to learn or I'm not going to use calculus when I get into the real world. Uh, what about budgeting? What about learning about my credit score? That's also very important. I think that that should be a required mandatory course, not just in high school, but start here in like sixth grade, seventh, and eighth, and so on and so forth.
That's interesting. You talk about financial literacy. I actually do trainings on financial literacy when I talk to youth, like at conferences, and then I do some side consulting where I go and even continue to teach adults about financial literacy and business principles, things of that nature. So earlier, just previously, you mentioned math illiteracy is a challenge. Talk with me about that concept, because being a former math teacher as well, that math phobia is true, right? Or test phobia as well, especially with standardized tests. So talk with me a little bit about math literacy you referred to.
I think the problem there too is the standardized testing. So a lot of the I would say that a lot of the standards are created by politicians that have not even set foot in a classroom. So I think that even starting from there, that people who should create these standards are people who are in the classroom, namely the educators, because they're in the trenches, they're in there, and they know. I guess they know best. But as far as mathematical literacy, I mean, it goes into literally everything. It is the foundational tool that we all need. It is a foundational. Uh, what's the word am I looking for? It's like the ELA, reading, writing, and of course math. So this teaches us problem solving. It teaches us critical thinking, and we don't look at it that way. We just kind of see math as like, oh man, I'm not going to pass this course. Or some people say C's get degrees. Now that that may be true, but deep rootedly, we need to teach the problem solving portion of it and encourage our young scholars to persevere, to face challenges and adversities. So mathematics, it's also a very good teacher. It teaches a lot about life. It teaches you to stand your ground, face your problems, deal with them head on, overcome these adversities, find a solution, and find the next one, overcome the next problem, overcome the next challenge, move on to the next problem. So it's basically life in that sense. Some problems are going to be easy to solve. Some problems are going to be huge and gigantic. So it all depends on how we perceive it.
That's true. I like that. So, what you were just talking about reminded me of another question. The math practices, are you supportive of the 8 math practices? Do you embed that as well whenever you teach math?
Oh yeah, definitely. So for me, it's all about making math fun, and also culturally relating it to our students. Now, if we were to, let's say, for example, there's this kind of like a one size fits all type of thing with the curriculum that we have, from Pearson to McGraw-Hill, all the textbooks that we have is like one size fits all. And that's not true in our case because a lot of our students, they don't relate to a lot of those, especially with the word problems. They don't relate to, let's say, if we were to go back a few years, a few decades, our grandparents, they were reading books about Dick and Jane with a white picket fence, green grass, and everything, and blonde hair, blue eyed characters in the books, and they couldn't relate to it because, um, we're indigenous. We have hogans and we have a rich culture, and so that again, that is just something they couldn't relate to. It's the same concept that we have here with the current books. So what I like to do is I like to blend Navajo culture within the mathematics and make it more meaningful to where the students can see, hey, I recognize this. I know that this is a hogan. This shape here is an octagon, or I know that when I'm herding sheep, I can count. I have some conceptual understanding of number sense there, and so I wanted to tie that in and spark that interest there, and most importantly, make math fun. What books are to reading, play is with math. So with math, you have to play, you have to have fun.
That's true. I think that's one of the areas that I always had my students do is it was making it fun with games. Finding sites out there where kids can practice on computers. I know some people say, "Oh, it's rote learning," but I didn't think it was because kids would challenge each other. But I mean, it's pretty awesome. Being a teacher that trying to make that math relevant, and I always got to the point where the students love just coming to my class. Right, you just having a safe, supportive environment that you create, building that relationship with students first, because then the math, no matter what I would have taught, they would have picked it up. So I wanted to touch on one thing that you just mentioned about. You talk about blending Navajo culture with math. Did you run into any challenges with that?
Quite a bit. So we were told to stick to the curriculum of what the school bought, but I kind of go rogue a bit. I mean, I still teach the same standards, but I do it in my own unique way. There's a gentleman named Henry Fowler who's also my mentor. He did his dissertation research where he blended Navajo culture with mathematics, but more for high schoolers. So in his writing, he wanted to collapse the fear of mathematics, and so for me, I'm kind of a little further behind that in the middle school area, trying to set them up with that foundation as they go forward. And again, it is an epidemic that we need to, as a community, see and also correct, and just kind of be there for our students. So that's why we have this Math Circles project. The Math Circles project happened in like 2012. So this is where you had this individual named Tatiana Shubin, who is a math professor at San Jose State University, and also Dave Ockley, who is a math professor at Kansas State University. So they connected with Henry Fowler, who at the time was a math professor at the Net College. And so they collaborated. They started up the Navajo Nation Math Circles project. By Zala Films, they made a documentary about that program. So other mathematicians from different universities came together, including Bob Klein, Amanda Sereneve, and of course Henry Fowler, Tatiana Shubin, and Dave Ockley. So how I was involved with that as a student or a student teacher at the time, just kind of helping with that project, and that morphed into it's just not about Navajo students only. What about other indigenous tribes? What about other indigenous students? So this is where we created the Alliance of Indigenous Math Circles to include other students and have that diversity. So there you have, we added on David Austin and of course an advisory board, and from there I became one of the regional coordinators. But you also have Donlea Ben, Beth Cambry Mata, Donna Fernandez, she works at Navajo Prep, Laverne Lomakima, who works at Hopi Junior Senior High, James Taylor, and myself. So we primarily reach out to other teachers. We want to start up teacher circles and have teachers become immersed into math circles and see the fun in mathematics. But we also hold math circles for parents, community members, and also students, not just here in Tuba City, but as many people as we can get. So it can go as globally, really. So if you hail from Minnesota or Florida, Oregon, Washington, so we do meet virtually on Zoom. So we do have math circle sessions as well.
So how can people connect with the math circles? Is there where can they follow or find that information?
We have a few websites out there for not only the Navajo Nation math circles, but the Alliance of Indigenous Math Circles. And there's a Facebook page and profile that I created called Arrowhead Math Circle. For that one, I spearhead myself, and I've ran that for like about 5 years here in Tuba City. So we try to reach as many people as we can, and everything's free. We even hook up teachers with supplies and give them school supplies that they need to teach. And we give these opportunities for students. There's summer camps that they can attend, and everything's free. So we try to help people out with that.
Oh, that's pretty amazing. Is that funded by a grant, or how do you get the funding to send supplies?
Yeah, everything's funded by grants. So that kind of goes higher above me with the co-directors, and they go out and get the funding for us, and we kind of try to get and recruit as many people as we can to become immersed and enjoy mathematics.
Oh, that's so cool. I didn't realize that was how extensive Arrowhead Math Circles is. I follow your page, and I like the posts that you send out. Definitely connecting math to the real world. Some of the memes are pretty good, and I usually share them. Actually, one of my former math teachers follows your page too, and she'll share stuff with me.
Right on.
Yeah, it's pretty cool to see. So one of the things I used to teach out in Wisconsin back in the mid 2000s, and working with the native students up there. One of the things I always tried to do was especially at the time before the Common Core picked up, was symmetry was taught in eighth grade, which it shifted down to 7th and 6th grade, which they broke it up when the Common Core came through. Well, I would look at symmetry within native art, within the community, within native basketries, tapestries, things of that nature. And I actually did a project that I would have a couple elders come in and do beading with my students, and the kids really loved it. And, just to have their culture acknowledged and validated within the classroom was pretty powerful for them. They just, their self-efficacy was increased. They just walked a little bit taller because, someone from their community, someone that they valued. They didn't necessarily have a degree, right? But they were valued. They were valued in the classroom. That's one thing I always found to be really powerful, was when a school allows elders, traditional people, to come into the school community and teach, right? Do you all do projects like that and work with the community, or what's your thought behind that?
Oh yes, most definitely, and kind of hard to do it right now because of what's going on with the pandemic and being as safe as possible. So right now our reach is through Zoom, but before we did have summer programs where we had students come to Navajo Prep, and they were there for a week. Parents were welcome, and that's something we try to get started over here on the western side of the Navajo Nation. At the time, there was really no math circles here on this side of the reservation or the Navajo Nation. And so that's kind of what we started up, and it morphed into a STEM day camp. So we had that here at Tuba City Boarding School for a week. For that one, we collaborated with NAU, or Northern Arizona University. The individual's name is Manzel Nelson, and we linked up, and we kind of put our brains together started STEM day camp. So we thought, how do we reach students here? How do we inspire? So that was a really awesome summer. So with a big help of another mathematician to the boarding, Rick Preston, another great individual, outstanding. And he also helps me out with the robotics team. And so the robotics team was another project that we got started along with the Master of the Program in the STEM day camp. And so that's another really fun area with the robotics team, just to see these kids just become confident and outspoken, and just to see them grow. It's really awesome. So we're starting up this year again for this next season. So that's pretty exciting.
So will you share the flyer on Arrowhead Math Circles page, or where would individuals be able to access that?
Actually, we showed or shared a video that the students put together. So they have their own YouTube channel, and so we're called the Thunderbirds Robotics Team, and that started. Let's see here, 2 years ago. When my department head, Major Windmiller, told me that NAU was trying to reach out and start a robotics team, or something in the STEM field with native schools, and so I applied for the Title IV after school program, and so Lisa DeJoly helped get us started, and we started talking with Mary Laura from Northern Arizona University, and also Ann Hamlin, and they put us in touch with Christine Sapio, who is the Coconut High School robotics head person, the coach. And so she came out with a few of they call themselves, and so she came out with a few of those guys, and we kind of had this crash course where the students got to learn how to, or they were introduced into coding, they were introduced into working with EV3 robots, and everything that we're doing is really awesome. And so I guess we were introduced to the first Lego League with Lego Education. FIRST stands for Inspiration and Recognition of Science and Technology. With that, there's 3 stages. You have the robot wheel, they have their core values, and they have the presentation of their research project. The core values they have is discovery, innovation, impact, inclusion, teamwork, and fun. And so the whole thing is all about fun. And if you check out that video, again, the students put it together. I just kind of facilitated, but I let them run with their ideas. And it's inspiring. A lot of them want to be engineers, and they got to also fly drones, and also they got to participate in a regional event, and it was their first time. They got to practice, and they pretty much competed against other teams throughout the whole state of Arizona, high school teams, middle school teams, and out of the 30 teams there, they came in 15th place their first time out. And so we were like maybe 5 places away from qualifying for the state event. But we were gearing up for everything, but COVID happened, and that's okay. So we're back at it. So that was one challenge that we were competing in, as the first Lego League. The robotics team that we have also competed in the second one with the National Aeronautics and Space Administration, or NASA. So NASA funds this other project with NESSP, the Northwest Earth and Space and Science Pipeline. And so they have a program called Roads on Mars. Roads is another acronym called Rover Observation and Drone Survey. And basically, we're given a question. One of the questions were, I think it was, how can we here on Earth use scientific exploration to understand other solar system objects and use engineering planning to ensure successful missions to these objects? So we're using these real NASA missions and giving it to the students, and they're putting their brains together and collaborating. And coming together to figure out a solution. So they got to know, not only learn how to code, but they got to learn how to fly drones and understand even the laws of drones with the FAA, and it's a lot. They had a lot of fun with that, and we were actually leading the entire state of Arizona at one point. I believe a couple of years ago with roads on Mars. That was the time that NASA sent out that rover to Mars, and they landed on Jezero Crater because there's this like delta formation where it looks like there was a water type of evidence that was left behind. So they're searching for life there to see if if they even find bacteria in this life and water and all that good stuff. So they got to compete in that. We were leading the whole thing, and so we were excited. And the person that, or the team that would win, or the team that wins would have an all expense paid trip to Florida to the Kennedy Space Center, and they would have gotten the opportunity to see SpaceX launch that rover to Mars. But at the time, that was March 2020, and that's when COVID hit, and all of our gear, our supplies, everything was in my classroom, and we kind of missed out on the opportunity. And so last year, everything was online. We went to school virtually, and this year we're coming back together in a hybrid model. So it's going to be challenging, but these types of challenges is what we need to innovate on. But the students come together to find solutions and overcome.
Nice, definitely teaching problem solving, critical thinking skills with the robotics. I tell you, that's one thing I tried to do with my high school as well, as to bring a robotics and the drone program to the school. So I'm glad you're able to do that. So what is the message you are trying to convey with Arrowhead Math Circles?
Arrowhead's more of like a platform just to push information out, or even to celebrate other Indigenous individuals with their successes. But more importantly, Arrowhead Math Circle is just really there to get the information out about Math Circle events that we're having, to include more Indigenous individuals to come, no matter where you're from. We elect you to come and see what we're all about, and more importantly, have fun.
Nice, that's awesome. And I tell you what, I follow the page, and I always get really good information and content from it. Some really good, like I said, some memes, but some really good information about how math is relevant in our world. So I have a challenge for you. So there's always a need for educators, especially math teachers, in our Indigenous communities. So what would your elevator speech be to recruit teachers, math teachers?
Man, that's a good question. My elevator speech. Well, I would say that we create mathematical opportunities for Indigenous students, and to build a community among math leaders while respecting Indigenous culture. Also, our vision would be to increase the magnitude of the number of Indigenous students who choose to pursue post-secondary STEM degrees, because we need more of a representation of STEM scholars or Indigenous scholars in STEM careers. I do know that not only do we represent less than 1% of the population worldwide, but that number gets smaller for us to go to college, but also to finish college. So I know that one of the core contents is mathematics that stops us. And what we need to do, like Henry Fowler is trying to do, is to help our Indigenous brothers and sisters collapse the fear of mathematics, and to see it as I guess you could say as a weapon that we use, kind of like our arrowhead. Again, which is why Arrowhead Master was called Arrowhead Master. And also to inspire and to develop the future leaders to become innovators, and we want to leave a better world for them, but also we want to leave better people out there for our nations, and to revitalize our culture, our language, and way of life. So everything's blended. We walk into worlds, and it's a lot of work. but we need you guys.
Nice, I like that. Wow, you did a really good job with that, especially on the spot. Nice job. So initially, I wanted to talk with you about your article or your book. Your book, I guess, your chapter of a book titled "Robotics for Assisting Diné Students."
Right.
What book is that? Was that published in?
So actually, we have it right here. It's called the Future of Navajo Education. It's coming from the Fielding Graduate University Press, and you have a number of great co-authors who contributed. So I did contribute a chapter about my life work that we just got done talking about. But you have 11 chapters, and I'll just kind of read off the other contributors and giving them a shout out. So you have mainly Begay, Barskin Benali, Henry Fowler, Ophelia Fowler, Shagani, Rose Graham, Albert Haskey, Moran, Jonathan Nez, Latrina Rogers, Talitha Valinsky, Robert Yazzie, and yours truly. Yeah. It's a really good book, and they have a lot of wisdom that they're sharing here, and you can find it on Amazon for about $20.
And that's awesome. I have to get a copy of the book and read it. So talk to me about your chapter. I mean, I think you've covered some of it in the interview. Am I correct?
Right. So my chapter is primarily about STEM education. It's basically the importance of sharing this and breaking down barriers that we face every day, that our children face, or they're going to face, and giving them an opportunity. Again, going back to, like I was saying, the weapon that they can use, which is education, to change the world. And STEM is definitely an area that we lack Indigenous scholars in, and we need more of our young people to pursue those degrees. Not only is it great for our nation, but it's also great for themselves. STEM education, they're going to be making like 6 figures, working for companies like Raytheon or Google, and the list goes on. But it's more importantly about preserving not only our heritage, but setting them up for life, getting them ready and for life, and breaking down barriers and getting them to see that STEM is really needed here. And maybe we can use that to have them come back home and create businesses and jobs and like a news station, just like we have KTNN, but like have an actual channel that has the net education in there and sharing something like that. And I think that'd be kind of cool too. And it does fall on STEM again. Pretty much everything does.
Wow, I can't wait to read the book. Actually, sounds really good, and especially teaching mathematics within Indian country, and to see some of the strategies that you all use and how you connect students and engage students. So definitely gonna put that on my list. Is there anything else? Go ahead.
Robotics, basically the STEM programs that we have here, we are learning in these experiences, and we want our students to succeed in these areas and studies, and also to really integrate diversity in curricula, and also highlight academia. And this is where I'm talking about, like, we need these scholars to write from the Indigenous point of view, rather than having non-Indigenous people write about us and tell us about our culture, our language, but to have these warriors go out and tell it from our perspective. So basically, this importance is really highly needed, and especially in STEM careers. And we need these people. We need our people to get up there and get into these leadership positions, and to also do the right thing in the right way for the right reason.
Yeah, that you made some really good points there, and I completely agree with you. We need to see people of color or indigenous people in these areas. I think that's one thing that's really important in academia is we need the stories from people of color as opposed to, like you said, outsiders writing about our culture, about our learning styles, things of that nature. So it's pretty powerful. Is there anything else we'd like to add?
Yeah, the last thing I would like to add is, check us out on our Navajo Nation Mass Circles page or Alliance of Indigenous Mass Circles page, websites, I mean, and, come join us when we have another Math Circle event. And I know it's going to sound like, hey, man, I don't like math. Why do I want to come? But it's totally different from how I guess regular math would be like. Normally, we would tell you this is what you do with step one, step two, step three, step four. I'm going to show you how to do this. But rather, with math circles, we actually just propose a problem. We take a step back and we just facilitate. And we have people just discover and share ideas and share experience, and it turns into a really fun discussion. And just seeing other people the way they I guess think and sharing that with one another. Also promoting, I guess, public speaking skills again. And basically, the whole thing is like where the students or participants would basically try to convince the other participants that their point of view or their conjecture is correct. And for us as facilitators, we're not the answer book. If they ask us like, "Hey, is this problem? Did I get it right?" I'm just going to say I don't know. But let's go investigate. Let's go find out. Let's take a look, and let's figure it out. So that's what we want to do is I guess develop that problem solving portion of it, critical thinking, analytical thinking.
Wow, that's pretty cool. And conceptual thinking too, right? I mean, those are all important components to teach kids or even adults, teachers, how to teach indigenous or even non-indigenous students how to learn mathematics with those avenues. And how can people contact you?
Well, you can go to on Facebook Arrowhead Math Circle. So you would definitely find a lot of information there. Um, I'll give you all the information about the websites as well that you can also push out on your podcast with the information. So yeah, you'll definitely do that. But as far as finding me as an individual, I basically lay low. I'm more of a private person. I don't even have my Facebook profile as my real name. But if you try to look for me, I guess you could say my alias is a Res Lord.
Oh, that's awesome. I saw that too. I was like, Resler, wait, this isn't, wait. And then I had to look a little bit further. And I'm like, oh, yeah, this is Craig.
Yeah. Yeah, it's kind of goofy, but, it's kind of why I chose that too.
That's cool. I know my handle is Navajo Podcast on Twitter and Instagram, but that's pretty cool. Well, hey, I appreciate you, sharing your story and your journey, through your advanced education. I think that's one thing that's really cool is the number of Navajo or indigenous people getting degrees, right, in academia, right, in research or in theory, right? And that's one thing I really like to talk about and highlight that work. And it's just why when I saw your book, I was like, or your article, I was like, oh my gosh, this would be perfect. Help teachers understand some avenues to teach mathematics to native students. So, but I appreciate you taking time and interviewing with me and sharing your experiences because that's what it's about is sharing the knowledge with people and it's a perspective that we often forget. I mean, like whenever you Google videos on YouTube, you don't see very many videos about strategies to teach native students. But I just want to say thank you and appreciate your work in education.
I appreciate it, and that's another thing too. Is like mathematics is not is something that as Navajo people, Hopi people, Indigenous people, mathematics is something that we always have in our culture, whether it be in our rug designs, whether it be, let's say, for example, using the Pythagorean theorem to read the stars to navigate, or even to build a hogan. Mathematics is like really deep rooted in our culture. And that's something that we definitely need to open our eyes about and see that we are mathematics. And, we use it.
Absolutely. Well, hey, I'll give you an update. Let me know if you can send me a picture for the podcast. Maybe you in your suit and tie, or maybe you teaching. That'd be cool.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, right. Thank you.
All right, man. Hey, we'll talk to you later.
All right.
All right.
See you.
Bye bye.